Hi, I'm Aaron Marcus, and welcome back to the Acting and Modeling Success Summit. We have Jessi Moore, who is the co-founder and sports coordinator for a really interesting company, and it's called Gamechanging Films. So, Jessi, welcome so much, and I'm so glad you could be here for the summit.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
So, first, I want to ask. A lot of people might not have heard about game-changing films, and you guys are doing something that is very unique, something that opens up the acting world to athletes. So, if you wouldn't mind just spending a couple of minutes and just talk a little bit about your company.
Sure, absolutely. Game-changing films, we really specialize in sports, action, entertainment, so film, TV shows, commercials, print ads, anything having to do with sports and movies, if something like that, we're probably going to be involved in it in some way. Which it is a really interesting niche. It's very, very unique, but if you notice, there are a lot of sports out there in entertainment, in movies and stuff, and I think with 24 hours news cycles and ESPN and everything, you're expected to, to know that the sports are authentic and real. And I think Hollywood's kind of, taken notice of that. And so we've been able to carve out this little niche where we, yeah, just kind of focus on sports in these movies and TV shows. And it's really interesting. It's fun. It's a different kind of job, and it's really interesting.
Well, I guess especially for somebody like you who was a phenomenal soccer player, uh, and you're able to, make this transition from being an athlete to working with athletes. That must be pretty cool.
It's really cool. I mean, I say it's a dream job because I was a film major in college and I played sports, played soccer at TCU, and it was to combine these two passions to actually make a living at this. It really is. It's an unbelievable opportunity, and I think that most athletes, whenever they're done playing their sport, they're not always quite ready to hang up hang up those cleats and not really quite ready to give it up. And I think kind of what Game Changing Films does, it kind of gives them that opportunity to relive the glory days a little bit and get back out on the field or court or rink or whatever it is, and and then they get to perform again and do the sport that they love, and then make a little money doing it too. So it's a good deal for everybody.
Well, I can tell you, I experienced it in a very small way when I was working on the movie called The Replacements, and there were, tons of football players who were hired to, be the actors in this project, and we were shooting a scene right before an NFL game, and it was an exhibition game, and right before all the players ran through the tunnel, uh, the energy, the excitement, something I've never experienced before, not being a professional or even a college athlete. Um, it was so powerful, and I got like a little glimpse of what athletes must go through, prior to the game, and the zone that they get in and the intensity. It was really amazing.
It is absolutely, and my mentor Mark Ellis, he was actually the football coordinator there on the replacements, and he's told that tale many a times, and just and he's done in other movies, and in The Rookie, with Dennis Quaid running out of the bullpen, and that energy even that the actors are getting, it just, you can't compare it to anything else, and it's so amazing, and these guys are going out there and they're hitting, and it's real, and they're not faking it, they're not acting when they do those helicopter hits. I mean, those guys are hitting hard, and it's real. So it's definitely quite an energy, and you can feel it on set, which is just, it just makes those days so much more fun, and everybody just gets really geared up for them.
So, how does the process work? Do, do you get a phone call from a production company saying, we need athletes, or maybe you can just explain how that whole process works?
Sure. It depends. Sometimes we'll get a call from a director specifically. Sometimes it'll be a studio. Sometimes production company. They'll call us up and say, "Hey, we have football, for example, in our next movie. It's just one little scene. There's not really much to it." I'm like, "Okay, well, go ahead and send us a script. we'll receive the script, we'll kind of break down the action. Sometimes literally it'll say, the home team scores a touchdown. Okay, well, what does that mean exactly? Is that a screen pass? Is that, running back takes it all the way down? I mean, how does that exactly happen? So we'll sit and we'll talk with the director and say, okay, well, let's maybe try this. We'll write up the play, choreograph the action. The next thing will be actually casting the athletes. We'll usually hold an open casting call in whatever city we happen to be filming in. We'll hit up, local colleges in the area and, recent graduates, do kind of a grassroots combined with media efforts and really try to get the word out and try to get as many good football players out there. And they'll run, just combine type drills. They'll run a 40-yard dash. They'll do agility drills. They'll do everything like you would for a real football tryout. And, we'll make cuts every few minutes and just, it's real, it's legit. And so, then eventually we kind of whittle it down and we kind of our starting team. Then we go into a training camp. So then these guys are learning the plays. They're learning what choreographed football is, which is it's different than regular football.
Yeah, and like in what ways? In what ways would it be different?
Well, it's each time everybody's hitting their mark. It's almost like a choreographed dance. So each time the tackle is going to happen every time at the 25-yard line at the hash mark. Everybody knows that. So it's the idea of trying to hit your mark and trying to make it look real while at the same time you are trying to go to a specific spot and have a specific thing happen over and over and over and make it exactly the same. I think, for example, I think hockey is one of the hardest things to do, to talk about, for Miracle, for example, when you're trying to recreate plays that people have seen before. Like we have video footage of these plays. And you're trying to recreate even something where the puck comes off a stick a certain way. And it goes, I mean, that's really difficult to recreate. And but these guys we hire some of the best athletes out there. And we know that, they're going to make us look good. And so we just rehearse it over and over and over again. And then they don't understand why we have to just keep going over it until we get to shooting. And they realize when you've got 5 cameras on you and we yell action and you don't hit that mark that first time or you jump off sides, that is not good. You just cost production some money, and you made us look bad. We're not happy. So, but the guys get it, and they get on board pretty quickly. So
I know this is like really on a very side note, but there are a lot of things that impressed me from watching all the football players on the replacements, but one of the things that just amazed me was it was hot, really hot during a good portion of the filming. And these guys, I mean, I had a very easy job. I was a media person standing on the sidelines. The hardest thing I ever had to do was one time the quarterback made a bad throw. And actually, it was pretty impressive. I was able to kind of reach up real fast and one hand the football. Besides the fact that it really hurt, because this guy threw hard. But these guys, like you were saying, they were just pounding each other all day long. But the thing that was the most amazing thing is we would break for meals, and the meals were just unbelievable. These guys would eat so much food and then go back and hit for the rest of the day. I never understood how they did it. I guess their metabolism must be so phenomenal that it didn't affect them. But
they definitely burn those calories, and they make up for it at lunchtime for sure. They don't usually miss a meal.
Now, did you ever find, especially let's say for a very physical kind of game, whether it's hockey or football, even though everything is choreographed, you're supposed to, hit this guy at a certain place, that sometimes people just kind of forget that they're doing a movie and it starts becoming a little bit more personal and things get a little out of control? Or do you really not see those kinds of things take place?
You see it every now and then. It usually happens a little bit at training camp. Usually around the 3rd or 4th day when the guys they're sore, they're tired, it's hot, all those things. And a lot of them are trying to get out of some of that aggression, and they haven't been on set yet, and they kind of forget that this isn't real. This isn't real football. You're getting paid, you're getting paid as a professional athlete to do a job, and that job we don't have time for you guys to, be pushing around and mess off. And so it has happened where, we've had to send somebody home, and everybody else gets the message pretty quick that you just don't have time for it. And it's not personal. That this is, especially when the guy's getting beat over and over again, and the guys like to jaw at each other a little bit, and they have some fun with it. But the main thing is we take great pride in the guys that we cast. We just cast some not only great athletes, but just really good guys that you want to spend 14, 15 hours a day with on set every day for potentially 6 weeks. And that makes a big difference. You don't necessarily always cast the guy with the fastest 40 time if he's going to be a handful. So it's a combination. It's all of those things. The great athletes, but then also just a good attitude. That's a big part of it. Because it's long days and it's a lot of hard work, and so you want guys and girls for other sports too, that are going to enjoy themselves and make your job better and easier.
Well, I remember when we were talking one time, you were mentioning to me that you actually even have a core group of people that you try to use when you can, just over and over and over and over again, simply because they're great to work with. Certainly, they do a wonderful job, but you can count on them, and they're a
Absolutely.
joy to spend time with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a core group. They'll travel around to wherever our project is. We do a TV show in Atlanta called Necessary Roughness, and so we have a lot of core guys that come down there, and some of them are from other places, but have just kind of relocated to Atlanta for right now, just because there's a lot of stuff going on down there, and they like to work with us. And then we'll go and work on a movie in Texas, and they'll follow us there, and it's great because you already then have that kind of core group of guys that can set the example for the other ones. And it's such a big part of a locker room vibe and just trying to get everybody in line. And when you have guys that have been there, they know us, we know them, we know that they're going to hit the mark every time. They're going to be on time. They're going to just make us look good. It makes things so much easier for everybody.
Well, I guess what also helps so much, depending on the sport, but something like football, where you've got a helmet, you've got pads, people can be interchangeable, and they're not so recognizable in each project that you're not going to watch another movie and say, wait a minute, I thought I saw that guy in that movie, or I saw him on that TV show. Just that's not even a factor.
Yeah, yeah, you can definitely use those guys, over and over again.
So if somebody is now, do you look primarily for people of college age, or do you even look for high school, people, or
It really it depends on the project. If we are looking for a professional, football team or basketball team or whatever it is, if we're looking for a professional level, we're usually looking at guys in their, mid to late 20s, early 30s. I mean, really, what would be a professional team? And same goes for college too. If you want to look for guys that are maybe in their mid 20s. For high school, obviously we look at guys that are you obviously want them out of high school, and we actually prefer them to be about 22 or 23, maybe just out of college, because then you don't have to worry about any kind of NCAA eligibility issues or anything like that. So you almost want them just out of college, where they still have that young, kind of baby face look. You give them a razor and they shave, and they still look like they could be, 18. But you don't necessarily even have to have professional football experience, professional basketball experience, or baseball experience. A lot of times, it can be just a look. Especially with some of those high school movies that we do. If you played high school baseball, then and we need high school baseball players. That's all the level that we need you to do is that you know what a baseball player looks like. You know how to act. You know how to be in the dugout, all that kind of stuff, and that's all you need. You don't necessarily need to be a professional baseball player to be one of our projects.
now when you were talking about NCAA rules, that was interesting because I hadn't thought about that. If they are making money, that would potentially, even though it's in a movie or a TV show or a commercial, that could potentially have an effect on their status.
Yeah, unfortunately it could. And the tough thing is that you can't really ever get a straight answer from NCAA. That's hard to imagine, I know, but they won't really put their neck out on, saying one way or the other. So we just, in general, we try not to hire guys that are either currently in college or are, just in high school but maybe want to go to college and play their sport. Now, you can potentially, if they are a basketball player and they're going to play basketball in college, and you want to hire them as a football player, the NCAA is okay with that because they're not actually getting paid for the sport that they are then playing collegiately. So
Got
there's
it.
some gray area there. But so that's why normally we just kind of like to try to just because we don't ever want to get an athlete in trouble. It's not worth it to work for a few days on on a project to jeopardize that kind of eligibility.
So I'm curious if, let's say, in the Atlanta area and somebody's living somewhere around Atlanta, and we'll just stick with football. I mean, I realize you do a lot of different sports, but since you're doing a TV show right now, and they want to, I get, be interviewed, they want to audition for you. What exactly is I mean, I know you were talking about the whole training camp, but let's say everything's already started, you already have your team, but I'm assuming you're always looking for new people because you never know, people might have to drop out for some reason. What would that process be like for them to make sure that you know about that person?
Well, absolutely. We have our website, www.gamechangingfilms.com, and we're always posting our current projects that we're working on, specific casting calls that are going on. But then also we have just kind of a general talent submission. So say that maybe we don't have a specific casting call that's going on right now that maybe you fit the mold for, but you're interested in working with us in the future. Just go ahead and submit your info to us. It's free, all that stuff. Just submit your info, and we'll keep it on file. And that's a good way for us to kind of keep an eye on you and stay in touch with you guys. And so then hopefully we can use you on a future project. Because yeah, especially on the TV show, we're always looking for new. We never know what the writers are going to come up with. We have kind of have to be on the ball a little bit on that one.
And so, for instance, let's say they do get to the point where you call them in, and we'll just stick with Atlanta for just this very second. So they come in and you're going to run them through the same drills that you were talking about earlier. How about as far as, are there certain questions that you would like to be hearing from an athlete, or certain things that you would like to be seeing in the athlete that makes you think, yeah, I think this is a good person to work with?
Well, you just kind of sit and talk with them for a few minutes before you even see them do anything on the field. You want to see a little bit of personality. You kind of joke with them a little bit, just kind of ask them random questions. I mean, we'll say, oh, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite sports movie? Just anything to kind of loosen them up and relax them a little bit, because anything, as actors know, and athletes, everything, auditioning, tryouts, all that stuff, it's very nerve-wracking. And so we always try to just kind of talk with them a little bit, loosen them up. Again, you want guys. I personally like guys that smile. I know it's so simple, but just smile. Know that you're okay, having a good time, and you're not so serious all the time, because in some ways this is a serious business, but it's not. This is not brain surgery. We're not we're not saving the world here. We're making movies. We're having fun, and so you want athletes that know how to have a good time, but know when to be serious too. And those are usually the ones that we end up liking the most, and that we end up taking with us from project to project. Guys, that
Well, and
just have a good time.
excuse me, I was just going to say, even from the very beginning, somebody who shows up a little bit late, that certainly can't be a good start, because as we all know, time is a lot of money in our industry. And I guess also you want somebody that's no pun intended, but a real team player. I mean, somebody who, they might be tired, they might be exhausted, but there's, hey, look, let's just get this shot done. Whatever you need, we'll make sure it's done. And I'm assuming, those are the kinds of people that you want to continue to, have working with you.
Absolutely. We know the fun thing again about our business is that it is such a collaborative effort, and it's such a teamwork aspect of it all. And because we're all former athletes, and we kind of, that's where we were raised, and we know that we don't really deal well with people who are not good teammates. It's life's too short. Everybody should be helping everybody, and you want guys that do buy into that team aspect, and that are wanting to do what they can to make the whole production better, make the shot better, all that stuff. And another thing, we're really big on communication. It's It sounds so simple, but if we email you or text you and say, hey, your call time's this, we want a response back right away. I can't tell you how many times I've been out trying to eat at a restaurant and I'm still waiting for guys to respond back to me, 4 hours later, and it gets frustrating because there's just it's not that difficult, for people to respond back, and as somebody who casts people, that's it's something that you take into effect a lot. So just
Sure.
practice that there. Just remember, just always communicate, as much as you can. If
Yeah.
you're
Hey, Jesse, I should probably wind this up only because I see here there are a number of questions that have come in, and I do want to spend a little bit of time trying to get some of their questions answered. Um, Actually, this is a very interesting one from Neil in Sacramento. He wants to know what happens if an athlete is hurt while shooting a film or TV show.
Unfortunately, it does happen from time to time. Depending on the injury, different things can happen. We always have athletic trainers, certified athletic trainers there for every practice, shoot, everything to try to prevent as many injuries as possible, but then also deal with injuries when they happen. If it's a sprained ankle, if you're feeling okay, we try to tape you back up and get you back out there. Obviously, if it's a little bit more serious injury, then we'll probably have to replace you, but you will still be considered a lot of times part of the team. A lot of times you may even still potentially even get paid or, workman's comp or something like that. But we try to keep the athletes as healthy as possible because that's just better for everybody, obviously. But injuries do happen from time to time. But I think the big thing is we always try to stress communication with our athletes. Guys, if you're starting to feel, a hamstring starting to pull a little bit, tell us. We can take you out of a few plays. It's just not worth it, to aggravate an injury.
And I'm sure besides the fact that you personally care about these people that you're working with, but even just from a business point of view, you want to make sure that people are doing okay and they don't do more damage so they can continue to work as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've got a question from Keith in Miami. And I guess you kind of answered this somewhat. Do you have to be a professional athlete in order to work with your company? Basically, it sounds like you were saying you don't have to be a professional athlete. You just have to be very competent and good and believable in whatever sport it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. You definitely need to have a little bit of skill, but you by no means do you need to be a professional at the sport.
Okay, this is from Thomas in Vancouver. And Thomas wants to know for sports scenes, do you actually rent the facility or do you generally have a set built?
It depends. A lot of times for the big stadiums and stuff like that, we'll film at professional stadiums.
So you just have to rent out the stadium.
Right. So in Atlanta, for example, we would rent out the Georgia Dome, and we'll, rent it out for
Wow.
2, 3 days. Yeah.
I can't imagine,
Those are big days.
calling up saying, hey, we'd like to rent out the Georgia Dome. And
Yeah, I remember when we were talking about how if you jump off sides and times money, yeah, times big money in the Georgia Dome. So yeah, so you definitely do that. But then we would build our sets as far as locker room stuff, training room, that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff is usually built. So it just kind of depends.
got it. We have a question from Stephen in London. Do you ever scout and cast outside of the U.S., especially in the U.K., which is where Stephen's from?
Absolutely. We're getting ready to work on a project potentially that may shoot in India, and so we definitely go overseas. We're potentially also getting ready to go up to Toronto, and then my coworker Amy worked on Invictus in South Africa. So we pretty much go wherever sports are. We'll try to find a project there, and we don't have anything specifically in the UK right this second, but I don't know. I have a feeling that we'll probably end up there at some point.
Now in India, are you looking for cricket players?
Kind of cricket slash maybe some baseball players. We're not really sure, but yeah, primarily cricket players.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that because once again, I mean for people who might play that sport and are interested in acting, I mean what an opportunity. I mean because there aren't that many soap operas where they need a cricket player or
Right.
sitcoms where cricket players come in. Okay, I think we probably have time for one more question. This is from Cindy in Philadelphia, and I'm assuming that Cindy is a mom. She wants to know, do you ever cast children in your films or TV shows?
Absolutely. We've done all kinds of different ones. We did bench warmers. We did a little baseball movie called Home Run Showdown. Gosh, I can't even remember of all the kids movies, but kids
Now,
movies
were
are
those kids supposed to be athletes in a specific sport as well?
those particular ones were baseball movies. But yeah, it we've done, there's football, there's little kids in basketball. I mean, it's kind of all over the place as far as sports. I want to do a little kids soccer movie just because, again, I'm a little partial to soccer. But I think we could definitely do one out there. But yeah, that we definitely use kids for different sports movies. So absolutely.
Great. Well, listen, this is an incredible opportunity for anybody who has an interest in both acting and athletics. You guys should be checking out and make sure I got it. So it's gamechangingfilms.com.
That's right. Yep.
And even if there isn't something going on in your particular area right now, make sure that you are placed in their files so that when something comes up, they know how to get a hold of you.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Jessi, thank you so much again. I really appreciate you taking the time out to do this. If anybody has any questions that I just simply couldn't get to right now, I'm going to stick around at the very end of the day. I will start going through everything. And also, if there's something specific for Jessi that I simply can't answer, I'll make sure that I forward it to Jessi as well. So thank you so much again, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Aaron.